Do you think we're witnessing the end of the monarchy as we know it? Do you think the Commonwealth will just fall apart?
Well, I think you're conflating two completely different things here, the monarchy and the Commonwealth. They're two separate entities. I don't think we're seeing the end of either as it happens. This has been a tricky royal tour for William and Catherine, but it hasn't been disastrous. And goodness knows, in 30 years of covering the royals, I've been on a lot of tours that have had problems and tricky moments such as this. I mean, it has sparked debate about the future of the Commonwealth, but I think there's a huge misunderstanding about what the Commonwealth is and what it represents. It's a network of 54 countries. 34 of them are republics. Only 15 of them have the Queen as head of state, and 5 actually have their own kings and queens. So it's not some kind of royal club. It's a network of countries who have shared ideals and shared values, and they voluntarily belong to.
Yeah. Well, why has the Jamaican Prime Minister then been so forthright in his views on this? Do you think he's just signalling to his people? Do you think it would actually make any practical difference? Why wouldn't he want the Queen involved?
Well, what they want is to sever the ties with the monarchy. They want to choose their own head of state. And goodness me, that's entirely logical. Yes, it was a little bit brutal, and it was an awkward moment when William and Catherine were ushered in. They weren't even, this is a different occasion you're looking at now, but they weren't even offered a seat. And then he more or less told them off like school children and made it very clear that William is not going to be King of Jamaica. Now, this is something that the royal family will take completely on board. I don't think they'll be offended by it. They weren't offended by Barbados leaving, severing the ties with royalty, as you say, back in November. And I think other countries will follow. I mean, to all intents and purposes, anyone sane would say it's ridiculous to have your head of state living thousands of miles away across the other side of the world. For example, Australia. And I think the royal family accept that Australia will go the same way.
Sorry about heritage, culture, tradition, you know, these important values.
Well, they will remain, and the countries that are leaving are not leaving the Commonwealth. It's important to remember that. They can if they want to, but they are not leaving the Commonwealth of Nations. And those that have left the Commonwealth in recent times, for example, the Maldives was the most recent, South Africa is another, they chose to leave the Commonwealth, and a few years later, they applied to come back. So a lot of countries say that they find value, they find benefit in, as I say, the shared interests and values. And it's important, I think, for the world to have networks of friendship rather than single entities of countries that go their own way.
Do you think Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have had anything to do with potentially the hastening of these kind of comments from the likes of the Jamaican leader there? There were obviously veiled, not so veiled, allegations of racism about the royal family. Jamaica, of course, a predominantly black country. Do you think this has had any impact there whatsoever?
Well, possibly the allegations by Meghan Markle that one of the royal family, a member of the royal family, made allegedly racist remarks. It could have landed in Jamaica, certainly. But fundamentally, this is the direction that many countries in the Caribbean, and I say Australia, are going in. And it is a natural progression, I think. But it does not signal the end of the Commonwealth, and it certainly doesn't signal the end of the monarchy.
OK. Do you think that the royal family, like William, for example, should come out and apologise for the slave trade of the past?
Well, he expressed profound sorrow, and he repeated his father's words that slavery was an atrocity, it should never have happened. To say sorry, that comes with all sorts of implications about possible reparation, and we're probably talking financial reparation here for the sins of our fathers. And that is going to be a political domain. It's not one that the monarchy should or would get involved in. So he went as far as he could in expressing profound sorrow. I know people think he should have gone further, but really that is stepping into the area of politics.
And just finally, really, Jenny, before I let you get back to whatever delights await at your dinner party, I must say, Quite keen to get your take on the fact that actually the tide appears to be turning just in a societal sense, not amongst your average kind of man and woman on the street, but amongst our Hollywood celebrities and, all these kind of people when it comes to our royal family, really. Do you think that actually there's a risk of the royal brand becoming toxic in some circles?
Well, I know the royal family have always hated the blurring of the lines between royalty and celebrity, but you can't get away from the fact that in this day and age, they are celebrities. And that, I think, is quite important, actually. They've got to accept that they are famous and they are going to be on the front pages of magazines. And that is important because it keeps them relevant, it keeps them in tune with the younger generation. I've always said that I think the greatest risk to the monarchy, the threat to the monarchy, if there is one, is the apathy, particularly of young people who just don't really care. So by seeing them on trendy magazines and on YouTube and all social media, that makes them much more in touch and relevant. That's important.